I fixed my tie and headed out for the Delmar estate. It didn't take me long to get there. Traffic was virtually non-existent. When I got to the estate, I immediately locked eyes with Allie as I pulled into the long driveway. Allie was leaning on her car door with a big smile on her face when I parked and got out of the car, because
I'm first. I beat you here, Harrison.
I didn't know that getting here was a competition. You sound like a guy back at my old precinct. He had to be first to arrive for work, the first to get an assignment. It got annoying pretty fast. Still, I miss old Sam.
Well, don't worry. It's not a big deal to me. I was just having a little fun before we get to work. You ready to do this?
Definitely. It must be time to get started. I can see Jensen staring at us from the front door. Let's go. We walked up to the front door and greeted Jensen. He escorted us into the mansion and down the hallway, but he didn't take us to the Delmars. Instead, he took us to Ian, the head of security for the estate.
Welcome to the estate, detectives. We appreciate you being here. The Delmars won't be able to interact with us tonight much, and they're trusting us to keep everything safe without taking direction from them. Tonight likely won't go on for long depending on the choices that are made.
I don't see a lot of people here, Ian. Did we come too early?
Not at all, you're right on time. All of the guests are here. Parties at the Delmar estate are very intimate and serve a purpose. As security, our only job is to make sure order and safety are maintained. You and your partner are only here to make arrests if need be. Otherwise, you're free to enjoy the event as spectators. My team will be strategically posted around the property. You both signed an NDA, yes?
Yes, we did.
That's right, you did. Jensen informed me earlier. Please follow me to the dining room. The event is about to begin.
We followed Ian to the dining room and had posted up in a corner, just out of view of the guests. And this is where the story starts to pick up. What happened in that dining room was something neither Allie or myself were ready for, and we should have been. Once everyone was seated and security was set, Alan stood up from his chair and kicked things off.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Chosen, tonight is your opportunity to complete your initiation, which I promise you will be the greatest achievement of your lives. But trust is everything, and you must trust me to guide you into the next phase without knowing what that phase is.
When Alan finished his speech, there was a crack of thunder. The storm was back in full force, an omen perhaps of how the rest of the night was going to go. I was sure that everyone at the table would sit still and take Alan up on his offer to continue the initiation, but one of them didn't. Evan McBride, heir to McBride IT Solutions, stood up and confronted Alan.
Alan, no disrespect, this is making me uncomfortable. Before I make a decision on something, I want to know exactly what's at stake going forward. I appreciate you extending an invitation to me, but I just don't make uninformed decisions. It's a policy that's served me well over the years. So, I'll take my leave.
Mr. McBride, I'm afraid the terms of my offer aren't up for negotiation. Trust is paramount going forward, so if this isn't for you, then you're free to leave.
Free to leave? I know about you. There is no free to leave with you, Alan. How do I know that once I walk out of here?
Let me stop you right there. I don't know what you've heard about me, but I said you're free to leave, Mr. McBride, and that's exactly what you are. You made it clear to me that you're not a good fit for what I'm offering. So, you know where the front door is, Mr. McBride. Harrison, please escort Mr. McBride to his car and make sure he leaves my property.
I nodded and then asked McBride to follow me outside into the storm. The rain was coming down with a vengeance. I mean literal buckets as far as I was concerned. McBride didn't seem bothered by the cold, hard rain, though. I guess when you're as angry as he was, you can't feel a thing. I thought escorting him would be a simple and quiet walk, but it wasn't. When we reached his car, McBride decided to unload on me.
Your name's Harrison, right? Why are you working for Alan? Do you know what he does? Trust me, you shouldn't be associated with him. In fact, you should do what I'm doing and leave right now. This place has stories, Harrison, stories that exist in whispers and will never see the light of day, not without a death or two. If you're so concerned about Mr. Delmar, then why did you come here tonight? You seem to know a lot about him, enough to want to stay as far from this place as possible, but here you are. I've heard stories about Alan's interests, but they're just rumors at this point. I wanted to see him and this place up close so I could get some information on him. I ruined that plan though. I threw a fit the first chance I got left. The main issue I have with Alan is how he acquires small businesses and what he does with them afterwards. That man has no conscience.
So you came here tonight to confront him? That's ballsy, confronting a man in his home.
No choice. It's difficult to get near that man unless he wants you to. Look, I know you're just security, but if what I've heard is true, you're going to get dragged into a dangerous world with no exit. No one is exempt from what the Delmar family requires. Good luck.
And with that, Evan McBride was in his car, driving away from the estate. I went back to the mansion and stepped back into the dining room. Alan nodded a thank you at me, and then continued his speech.
Now that McBride is gone, we can continue with tonight's event. The rest of you have taken the first step towards a new life, one you'll never want to leave. A life of power and privilege only experienced by a very select few. With that said, everyone please stand up and follow me.
The guests stood up, and that's when I started to feel like I needed to sit down. Things started to get really hazy, and everything went black. When I came to, I was in a hospital bed hooked up to, and I versus Captain Reed was standing next to me with a serious look on his face. He wasted no time telling me why I was in the hospital and what happened while I was unconscious.
Welcome back, Allie. You missed a lot. I'm not going to waste any time getting you up to speed on things, especially with what happened to you and Harrison.
Harrison? What happened to him?
Let's talk about you first. Somehow, a slow-acting poison made its way into your body. Did you drink anything at the estate?
Water. I drank a glass of water from a pitcher in the room where Mr. Delmar was holding his party. Now that I think about it, I was the only one who drank water from that pitcher. Actually, no, I wasn't. Evan McBride drank some as well. Everyone else drank the wine they were served.
Well, that explains the accident. Of course, I'm still waiting to hear back from the coroner. But what you just told me may speed up the autopsy once I call it in.
Accident? Autopsy?
McBride is dead. His car hit a tree and burst into flames.
And Harrison, what happened to him?
He was shot sometime after you passed out. According to Alan Delmar, the lights went out and someone fired a gun in the room. He believes the bullet was meant for him, since he was standing next to Harrison when the lights went out. Our crime scene unit discovered that the estate's light breaker was tampered with.
My jaw dropped. I couldn't believe Harrison got shot and McBride was killed in an accident after leaving the estate. Captain Harris told me that Harrison made it out of surgery, but he would be in the hospital for a few days. As for me, I was scheduled to be released in an hour since I was awake. Reed patted me on the shoulder and told me to get home safe after I was released from the hospital. Then he left. About an hour and a half later, I was pulling into my driveway. I got out of my car and took a deep breath before walking up to my front door, which I noticed was cracked open. I took out my pistol before pressing the alert button on my police watch. The lights were off, and I couldn't hear a sound, but I went in anyway. That's when I saw it, a weird symbol drawn on my wall. Then I heard a click and felt the barrel of a gun pressed against